Hey guys, welcome to the Liberal Hive Mind, a channel solely focused on exposing the abundant hypocrisy of the left. This right here, this is exactly why they do what they do. This explains the purpose of their lawfare campaign meant to destroy Donald Trump, or more importantly, meant to keep him off the campaign trail. We know recently that Judge Merchan has hit the former president with multiple gag orders, as well as essentially landlocking him in New York City, asserting that President Trump must be in court every single day for the remainder of the trial or be arrested, not even allowing him to attend his son's graduation. We know why they're doing it. It's because they don't want Donald Trump to be on the campaign trail. They don't want Trump to have his victorious, glorious moments in front of the public, where it becomes more and more evident by the day that he is a man of the people. Well, now the question is, why don't they want him to do that? Well, obviously, it's because Democrats can't contend on that front. Barack Obama was great with the crowd. Barack Obama was a man of the people. Whether or not he was a man of the people substantively doesn't exactly matter. The point is, he was good at campaigning, he had great presence, and he was great at, making people enthused to see him, enthused to vote for him. President Trump obviously has that same power, but Joe Biden does not. And that is exactly why they want to suppress his ability. The whole thing is stage presence. They know Joe Biden has none. And so what's their strategy? Well, their strategy is quite simple. It's take Donald Trump off the stage. And that fact, or that dynamic, was made much more evident today as Joe Biden gets protested into oblivion and also completely ignored as he attempts to keep up with Donald Trump on the campaign trail. The Biden campaign is attempting to go tit for tat, but they're off to a very shoddy start, to say the least. Let me show you guys exactly what's going on. Let me show you exactly why they're indicting former President Donald Trump. We got some stuff to get into, so let's roll the tape. All right, folks. So we know Donald Trump is locked in New York City, essentially. Not exactly his preferred electoral space. Let's just leave it at that. But even with that being said, the Trump campaign was handed lemons. They're trying to make lemonade. As we covered the other day, they decided if they're going to be stuck in New York City, well, we might as well campaign in Harlem. That's what happened, and this was the reception. I'd argue that's great optics for the former president. Well, following just the next day, the Biden campaign decided that Trump can't steal the limelight, and so they're trying to copy the same sort of scenario, but the reception was quite different. Here was Joe Biden's greeting in Pittsburgh. An absolutely freaking brutal protest event, calling him Genocide Joe. Some of the posters trashing Bidenomics, and one of them, if we zoom in, maybe I can catch it, visualizing an election ballot with the Biden box and then the uncommitted box, and the uncommitted is what's selected. That's how a lot of people are feeling. The simple fact is, nobody cares for this guy. He has zero presence, and there is near zero enthusiasm to rush to the ballot box to vote for him. Nobody's gonna be walking over shards of glass and fiery coals to vote for Joe Biden. But when it comes to Donald Trump, the exact opposite is true. In fact, if I'm not mistaken, even Ben Shapiro, vehement Trump-hating Ben Shapiro, who didn't even vote for Donald Trump in 2016, didn't he vote for Hillary? I'm not gonna go on the record saying that, but I'm pretty sure he didn't vote for Trump, right?
I did not vote for Donald Trump in 2016.
Well, even if he wrote somebody's name in, or if he didn't vote at all, that's essentially a vote for Hillary in my books. But now Ben Shapiro is saying this.
And he's facing Joe Biden, who is the worst president of my lifetime. Because Donald Trump is the nominee against Joe Biden, I won't just vote for him, I will walk over broken glass to vote for him. Actually, I will go into my own pocket to support him, which is what I'm doing.
Yeah, the same sentiment is never true for Joe Biden. Yeah, I don't think anyone's ever said that for Joe Biden. This guy, he just doesn't have it. And this is raising serious concerns for Democrats. His campaign is trying very hard to mirror Donald Trump's amazing public presence as of late. We all know what happened at the Atlanta Chick-fil-A event, a huge optics win for the president. Then he showed up at the Jose Alba Bodega the other day, another hugely positive reception. While the Biden campaign tried to mimic the same thing, the Biden team copies Donald Trump with a little gas station stop in Pennsylvania, and it was horrible, at least horrible if you're a Democrat. He essentially got ignored by everyone. The President of the United States walks into a gas station and everyone's just like, oh, look at that old kook over there. Whatever, don't care, where's my Red Bull? I mean, absolutely brutal, absolutely brutalized. The clips keep coming in.
Ma'am, could you roll down your window, and Jim, could you put your boom mic out the window? Thank you.
The optics are just horrible. There is no enthusiasm for this guy. And we were talking about that just the other day in our polling analysis. I was talking about how I think the lack of enthusiasm is showing up secretly in the data. Democrats know that they have a big enthusiasm problem with this guy, and they know that the same does not exist on the other side. That's why they want to indict him. That's why they want to keep him in court. That's why they want to bankrupt him with totally arbitrary, insane fines like the one imposed by Letitia James, which recently got dropped down. And that's of course why Democrats are more focused on manufacturing voter turnout rather than letting it happen organically, because they know it won't happen. I'm using that as a segue to go to this amazing piece written by Ben Weingarten at Real Clear Investigations, which of course falls under the Real Clear Politics banner. Here's an article titled, "How Taxpayers Will Heavily Subsidize Democrat Boots on the Ground This Election." Progressives are using legal loopholes in the power of the federal government to maximize Democrat votes in the 2024 election at taxpayers' expense, Real Clear Investigations has found. The methods include voter registration and mobilization campaigns by ostensibly nonpartisan charities that target Democrats using demographic data as proxies, and the Biden administration's unprecedented demand that every federal agency consider ways to expand citizens' opportunities to register to vote and to obtain information about and participate in the electoral process. A dizzyingly array of overwhelmingly democracy-focused entities with ties to the Democrat Party, operating as charities and funded with hundreds of millions of dollars from major liberal dark money vehicles, are engaged in a sprawling campaign to register voters, deliver them the ballots, and figuratively and sometimes literally harvest the votes necessary to defeat Donald Trump. These efforts, now buttressed by the federal government, amplify and extend what Time magazine described as a well-funded cabal of powerful people ranging across industries and ideologies who had worked behind the scenes in 2020 to influence perceptions, change rules and laws, and steer media coverage and control the flow of information to defeat Trump and other Republicans. The quote, shadow campaigners, Time declared, were not rigging the election, they were quote, fortifying it. Electioneering, superweapons. The IRS permits tax-exempt nonprofit groups to engage in voter registration and get-out-the-vote drives, so long as they do not refer to any candidate or political party, nor conduct their activities in a biased manner that favors or opposes one or more candidates prohibited. These entities have become magnets for funds not only from wealthy donors, who can contribute without traditional campaign finance limits and get a tax break to boot, but also abundantly endowed private foundations that are prohibited from engaging in partisan activities. In recent years, dozens of progressives, now pulling in upwards of $500 million annually, have engaged in purportedly neutral efforts to impact elections, according to Hayden Ludwig, director of policy research at the election integrity focus advocacy group Restoration of America. In practice, critics like Ludwig argue that left-leaning charities flout the law by registering and mobilizing demographics that tend to vote disproportionately for Democrats behind the veil of non-partisan democracy promotion. In other words, the widespread implementation of the infamous 2020 Zucker-Bucks strategy. Anything but a fair fight. Anything but an actual election. And of course, as usual, this comes from the people who constantly lecture us about democracy. The simple fact is, they're willing to subvert democracy, whatever that means, at whatever cost there may be. Imprison and impoverish their political opponents? Check. Issue gag orders stopping him from being able to speak? Check. Threaten him with arrest? Forcing him to be landlocked in New York City so he can't go out on the campaign trail? Check. Work behind the scenes in ballot harvesting schemes and voter registration drives that are purposely targeted towards Democrat voting demographics? Check. Anything but winning on the merits or winning on the issue. It's obvious to everyone, it's obvious to left-wingers, even to clear left-wing media actors like Stephen A. Smith.
To my liberal friends out there, all you're doing is showing that you're scared you can't beat them on the issues and the merits. That's why he keeps saying it's a political campaign against me. That's why he keeps saying they can't beat me at the election, at the polls. This is the only way they could do it. And if you don't put him in jail, and he still goes from being the presumptive GOP nominee to the official GOP nominee, and he goes to the polls, even though he was going to whine about winning and being rigged again, you have given more fodder to that argument, which means we'll never have peace in this country, because tens of millions of people see what extent the other side is willing to go through just to keep him out of office, because they can't beat him on their own merits.
Anything but the issues, they have nothing, and so this is what they're banking on. It's becoming clear that it's no longer Republican versus Democrat. It's not Trump versus Biden. It's Trump versus the machine.